I'm like, what church? And it's like, oh, like the Mormon church. Like there's like, it's in the middle of nowhere. There's legit nothing around. And it's like, oh, it's owned by the church. It's like, why the fuck does a church need to own that land?
Wow.
But yeah,
I
it's
heard
funny.
Utah is like one of the most beautiful places though in the United States.
Oh yeah, it
It's like
is. I was
stunning.
actually, I was just in Zion National Park last year in October. And yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice way
a
to
lot
put
of,
it.
lot of yeah, nice sights, like no light pollution. You just
Yeah.
see right up to the stars. Crazy.
Yeah. My cousin, he actually played basketball in Utah, but
Oh, wow.
he hated it though, because like the winters are not cool.
Yeah, definitely not.
I can see that.
Yeah, definitely not cool. But let's get into the podcast. So this is mostly bullshitting with Mike, Brandon, and Solomon. I'm well, you can start.
Yeah, well, I might.
I'm Brandon.
And I'm Solomon.
Yep, and this is basically a catch-up discussion between three ex-college roommates where we basically bring our serious takes to all the important, interesting, impactful topics of the world. We go into great detail about their nuances and etc. But also, honestly, we're just mostly bullshitting. So first, let's just start with Mike. What do you got to talk about this week?
So I wanted to kick this off with the topic of investing. I believe that investing is really important for establishing yourself in the future. So I just kind of wanted to go through kind of what are your guys' investment strategies, or do you even invest? Kind of touch on some stocks and cryptocurrencies that I've been looking at, and just kind of like what stocks we believe can produce major returns in the future. So I can kind of kick it off with kind of what my strategy is right now. With my company, we have a 401k as well as an HSA in which I can invest in. So the 401k, I usually kick about 10% of each check to the 401k. And then I put a certain percentage into my HSA investment account. And the HSA investment account is really good because it's essentially triple tax savings. So it takes money out of my paycheck pre-tax and then invests it into whatever. I just put it into an S&P 500 ETF, and then that money grows tax free. And then when I'm ready to withdraw it, when I retire, it's still tax free. So it's just like triple benefits on your taxes with that, as well as just investing in my own Roth IRA, as well as just a normal brokerage account. So I guess my question to you guys is just what kind of investment strategies do you guys have, or what type of things do you invest in?
Well, I'm gonna start. I don't really have any investment strategies, and you use a lot of acronyms that I was not very familiar with. So can you like go down like the acronyms that you're using?
Yeah, so a 401k, it's just essentially a retirement account, which you take pre-tax dollars out of your paycheck each month. And usually your company will have a contribution, so they'll match your contribution to your 401k. So say I put $100 into my 401k, my company will also put $100 into the 401k, and then up to a certain percentage. And all that money is pre-taxed. The only downside of it is that I can't pull it out until I'm 59 and a half. So it just sits in that account for a long time, but it grows tax free. When I'm ready to withdraw it, it's tax free. The HSA is a health savings account. So essentially, you put money into the HSA, and it's also pre-taxed. But any funds that you put into the HSA can only be used for medical expenses. But there's a loop, I wouldn't call it a loophole, but there's an additional benefit to it where you can also invest that money tax free. And so it's just like triple tax savings, and it just kind of piles up on top of each other. Then I have my Roth IRA. It's also another retirement account. The benefit of that also, you put in post-tax dollars into that, but then the money grows tax-free, and you can withdraw it when you're 59 and a half or whatever the retirement age is. And then just the individual brokerage account that I use, where I invest in just general stocks, that's where I try to take more of my risk, where I kind of put money into things that I think are going to blow up, but I'm willing to take a lot more risk for a higher reward kind of system. And then I can take that money out whenever I want, but it's going to be taxed at a certain percentage depending on how long I've had invested in the stock. So there's capital gains taxes where if you have it invested for over a year, I think your tax rate is going to be a lot lower than if you like bought the same day and then sold that day. The tax rate is going to be a lot higher. So those are just kind of like my base accounts. And then I also invest in cryptocurrency using Binance, which, I know crypto is real hot in the streets.
Yeah, it's definitely hot in the streets, for sure. Hot in the streets. That's where it's most hot. But let's go to Solomon. What are you doing in terms of investment?
So for the most part, I usually start with the 401k, like Mike said. I invest in a 401k that's like with my company match. I try to at least match whatever the company's willing to offer, and then throw some more on top. I've been fortunate enough to work at companies that have that are public, so they have their own kind of stocks, and they have stock buyback plans for the employees. And so I definitely contribute to that because there's some like favorable rates for the employees if they attempt to invest. So at first, I was only investing like 6 to 7% of my income, like pre-tax, into that. But when I realized the benefits, because they give you like, for one of my last companies, a 15% discount. And so,
wow,
15, dang.
15, yeah. And so it's a no-brainer to max out on kind of situations like that. But I also take time to like invest in other like large fund ETFs. So kind of like Vanguard, QQQ, those types of ETFs, as well as some tech ETFs as well. I try to invest in individual stocks. I try to play with options from time to time. But it's really risky, and I've definitely kind of learned sometimes the hard way about kind of doing your fundamentals, doing your due diligence, and getting a better understanding of the stock market. So it's mostly, for me, I would say, just covering your bases. I definitely have some safe investments meant for long term. I definitely have some kind of strategies I try to use, like with the situation that I'm in with my company. And then I definitely do the individual stocks. I'm currently not in any crypto at the moment. So I like to probably hear a little more from Mike about how it is.
For sure. I would definitely like to hear some more too, because I got a Robinhood account like everybody else, right? So I took all of my money in stock, undisclosed amount, and I put it into crypto recently because I was like, I feel like this is like more beneficial long term. But Mike, you can probably say more to that.
To be honest, like I still don't understand the complete background on crypto and how it works, but I do know it makes money. I invest in Bitcoin, Ethereum, Cardano. There's a lot of cryptocurrencies out there that they all serve like a different purpose with what they do. Bitcoin was essentially, I believe, it was just supposed to replace physical money. It was essentially there to just just for transactions only. But then there's things like Ethereum in which they're built to do certain things. So like Ethereum is like a base to, I'm going to butcher the explanation for this, but like they can use it to build, you can use Ethereum to build onto new things. So like right now, I think the biggest Ethereum project is to develop the Web 3.0. So it's essentially going to try to replace the internet as we know it, in which everything will be digitally validated. So essentially, it's going to be a lot harder to counterfeit things in the new internet age. So that's kind of like what Ethereum, part of what Ethereum is built on, the principle. But I definitely think like, go ahead.
I was going to say, are you saying then that a lot of websites are going to be using Ethereum? They're going to be able to like transmit dollars to Ethereum to be able to validate someone's payment?
That, and like even just like information as well. Like they'll be able to validate whether information is true or false, or like the source of where the information came from, essentially. Like you won't be able to just kind of put, like somebody won't be able to like kind of meme and put some bullshit on the internet without being able to track where it came from and validate if it's real information or not. So yeah, so I still don't understand all the specifics of it, but I think that's kind of the general idea. So right now, Ethereum's worth like, it's hovering around $2,000 a coin.
Yeah.
But I got in when it was like 1,200. So it's like, and I got a homie that he got in when it was like 300, and he's balling right now on that shit. So like it's definitely the way of the future. I follow this guy named BitBoy Crypto on YouTube. He'll give you all the scoop on crypto and tell you like predictions of where the prices are going to go. And he's been pretty accurate so far. So I would definitely check out BitBoy and see what his latest takes are.
That's right.
We'll do, Mike.
Thank you, bro.
Yeah.
Mike,
down.
The plug.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Like we can make a shit ton of money if this shit blows up how he's thinking, because he's thinking that right now Ethereum is at $2,000, but it can reach Bitcoin levels in the near future.
Whoa. Right.
So it's like get in on it now.
Right. No, what it is when you're talking about like validating information and being able to like transmit information like decentralized in a decentralized format, that is super valuable long term, in my opinion. That's why I took all of my stocks into Bitcoin. But that's just me personally, not saying anything. We're not promoting anything necessarily. We're just saying what we do personally.
Yeah,
mostly
this is not
bullshit.
investment advice.
Mostly bullshit.
This is not financial advice. This is not financial advice.
Right.
They love to say that on Reddit.
Right. Exactly. So I'm gonna get into my topic. So did you guys see Zack Snyder's Justice League? I'm gonna get into some nerdy shit because personally I'm a big nerd. So I'm just gonna, we're gonna get into some nerdy shit.
I did watch the Snyder Cut. I think I watched it right after we recorded the last pod. I told you I was like halfway through it.
Yep.
And I finished it that night. It was a crazy ending. I know they're like kind of leaving it as a cliffhanger for next time. So I'm not exactly sure how it's gonna move forward, because I read up on it, and I kind of,
it's crazy, right?
Things.
You saw some things, right? It's like some corporate. Mike, did you see the Snyder Cut? Did you see Zack Snyder's Justice League?
I still have not seen it. No.
Dang, have you seen the original Justice League?
No.
Wow. Why? So neither of you guys have seen the original Justice League?
No.
Yeah, so it was a terrible movie. I tried watching it on like TNT one day. Awful movie. One of the worst movies I've ever seen. I guess the guy that made the first Avengers made this Justice League, the one that came out in 2017. Now, originally Zack Snyder was the director. But while he was filming, or after he was filming, I guess while he was editing the movie, his daughter committed suicide. So
oh shit.
Yeah, so he had to leave the project. And I guess that sort of upset the executives at Warner Brothers. So they hired a new director who did reshoots, and the reshoots that he did were really terrible. They had the guy that played Superman come back, but he had a mustache because he was playing like Sherlock Holmes in another movie. So they had to CGI it out in the movie.
CGI the mustache.
They had to CGI the mustache out, so his lips are like doing this the whole time. It looked terrible. So the fans, this movie came out in 2017. The fans were so mad about this movie that they had to have this Zack Snyder Justice League come out, because they knew that this was the actual vision of the director. And like you said, this is stuff that's like, it's like a cliffhanger. It's not really like, the ending is, I don't want to spoil it for anyone, but the ending isn't really like oh, like the bad guy is dead. You know what I mean? So it's like the Warner Brothers director came out, the CEO came out recently and said that they're not going to continue. They're not going to make a sequel for that movie. Because the director had already dropped out a while ago and they had made new plans, they said they're going to go to this new vision that they have for the Zack Snyder's Justice League, and they're not going to make another movie based on this movie. And personally, I'm like a big movie like cinephile, I guess, and a nerd, or I guess, and I thought that this was like one of the craziest movies I've ever seen in terms of like cinematography and everything. He even dropped a black and white version on HBO Max. And if you watch that version, like if you're really into like cinematography, that is really like one of the craziest like shot films I have ever seen, like especially as a comic book film. So I'm really upset personally that they're not gonna make another film, but it's gotten so crazy behind the scenes because they had already hired Dwayne the Rock Johnson from Hayward, from the Bay. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. He was already signed to do a movie for the DC universe, but because he saw this new Zack Snyder's Justice League, he's telling the executives, yo, I'm not going to do my movie unless you do the second Justice League, basically.
That's a lot. That's a lot of weight coming from one person.
It's so crazy. Like the people at Warner Brothers, they don't even want to drop the numbers of how well the Zack Snyder's Justice League did in terms of streaming. Like they'll drop the numbers for like Godzilla versus Kong and Tom and Jerry and all that, but they still haven't dropped the numbers for how well Zack Snyder's Justice League is doing.
They blew that shit out the park. I think everybody like who is a comic book fan watched that. Like whatever, if they follow Marvel, DC,
right? Like, you watched it, right, Solomon? So like, do you think that was like one of the best comic book movies you've ever seen?
Yes, I did. I actually thought it was a really well shown movie. I thought it followed kind of the track of the Marvel Infinity War because they kind of, came all together with the sole purpose of like defeating a bad guy where there's like going to be the end of the world kind of thing. So I thought I saw some similarities between that.
Right.
But like they set it up to have a crazy sequence. I thought it was a really good movie through and through.
Right. So that movie was shot and the storyboard was up before Infinity War came out. So the Infinity War stole from that movie.
Wow.
But was it even out?
It wasn't. I mean, the movie was already done in 2017.
Okay.
It was like they just didn't do like the post-production like CGI effects on it, but it was already shot.
Gotcha.
They were doing editing when his daughter, committed suicide, unfortunately. But what's cool about this movie, people should watch it. A lot of the proceeds go towards suicide prevention, and also it's a great movie. Please watch Zack Snyder's Justice League because we need to restore the Snyderverse. Because it's really one of the best comic book movies I've ever seen. Like Marvel, honestly, like Marvel doesn't really have anything compared to this. Like I see a lot of people like, oh, Infinity War is great. Infinity War is great. I'm like, no, this is really the best comic book movie ever, in my opinion.
Wow.
But I'm gonna cut my segment short because this is just me personally.
You could go on forever.
I can go on forever, just like just venting about nerdy shit. Like, let's go to Solomon's topic. It's a lot more cool.
It's not a lot more cool. It's just a lot more recent. It's a lot more recent.
No, it's definitely more cool.
Hey, so my topic is more of a recent event that has occurred involving a media broadcast and a kind of analyst, an NBA analyst by the name of Paul Pierce. I'm not sure if it was over the weekend, but at some point, Paul Pierce went on IG Live a few days ago and showed himself playing poker with the guys on a Saturday night. And there were also some hired masseuses in the building. They may have other titles, I'm not really sure, but he looked like he was having a good time. He was smoking a little something. He was taking some shots, acting like he was in Cabo, but he was in LA.
They were scantily clad.
Yeah, sure. The women in the building were scantily clad. And so Paul Pierce was on live for like 16 minutes or something, just like showing himself having a ball, letting people know, hey, it's good, come through. But sadly, a few days after, ESPN decided to let him go for his actions. I think they mutually agreed to part ways or something like that. But I'm just gonna give you. I just want to first ask, what are your reactions to that? Should he have been fired for putting himself on live and just showing himself having a good time?
I think it's tough. I mean, ESPN is owned by Disney, so they do have a certain image that they want to uphold. I know it kind of sucks being a celebrity and just always being in the public eye. But for Paul Pierce, I think I saw the numbers on that live. There were only like 300 people in that live. So, I mean, Paul Pierce really has to ask himself, was it worth the 300 viewers seeing him wild out when he could have really just had that moment in private and this would have never been an issue. So I kind of think like Paul Pierce already kind of wanted out with ESPN. And that's why he kind of went off and did that. That's my theory. Like he was already planning to probably quit. So he was just, I don't give a fuck at that point.
Is it easier, less paperwork?
Yeah.
Right. Cause I'd rather see Paul Pierce on like a, what's All the Smoke kind of platform than ESPN. I don't want to see filter Paul Pierce. We know Paul Pierce, like we don't want to see filter Paul Pierce. You know what I'm saying? Like we want, like that was. I mean, like he did it because he knew, like I think people will want to see it. I don't know, like people would talk about it. You know,
it seemed like personally, I thought I was intoxicated.
I don't know. Like that was so belligerent. I don't know. He's never done something like this in the past.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Like I would have never, like I've never, like, has he even had an IG live before? Was that his first IG live? Like what was the point?
Probably was, because if it was only that many people viewing it, probably weren't expecting it.
Right.
I don't think it was planned at all.
But what's interesting though about that is I saw Chris Broussard, he has like a little show with Rob Parker on the Fox Sports Network. He was talking about how like the Grammys had WAP, you know, on national television. So what's the difference?
I mean, I'd say the difference is just they're different companies. The Grammys are a different entity from Disney. CBS. You know, Disney is supposed to be, you know, child family friendly. Like we're not going to see Cardi B performing WAP on Disney Channel
on ABC, right?
Yeah, or on ABC or anywhere, like
on the finals.
Even if she, exactly. But you know, well, Disney has like a certain image that they want to uphold, so they're probably not going to be showing certain type of content on their associated programs. So I think that's the difference. Well, the Grammys is a primarily music entertainment, and the music industry is known for sex and drugs. So like it to them, that doesn't really matter as much.
Yeah. What do you think about that?
I can see that. I mean, me personally, I feel a little uncomfortable with this firing. I think he did fuck up. He definitely should not have put himself on live in a situation that, like, you know, kind of doesn't align with the company conduct, but in a sense where you're able to kind of do what you want in your free time. If it was done in mistake, could there have been like a suspension in place? Are there like levels to this? Is it just like an immediate firing in situations like this? Or is a company able to kind of like talk to an employee to kind of get a better understanding of the situation? Because if it's just like a one-off, it's kind of a weird situation to me.
I mean, think of it this way, Solomon. If if your company saw you posting that on IG Live, what would your conversation with your boss be like the next day? If
I
your
mean,
boss,
the thing is, I'm not like, I don't have a public profile. I don't have anybody from my current company following me. Like if
Smart.
I post something stupid like that, if I post something stupid like that under the guise of intoxication, because that's what I believe Paul Pierce was, he was intoxicated. I don't think I think nothing would happen personally. The only way that it could happen is if somebody like screen recorded and then sent it to somebody who worked for the company, but that would be a very weird thing to do.
You know what's interesting? I heard that that ESPN, they said that they wouldn't have fired him if someone else had recorded it. But the fact that he did it intentionally is the fact that they fired him. So and that's what I was gonna go back to Mike's original point. I think he did it purposefully because he's just like, this is just my last FU. I'm just gonna just do this because I know it's gonna get me fired, but I'd rather just get fired in a blaze kind of thing. And so, and that's like a springboard to whatever he's about to do next. Like this little wave, you know, whatever it is, people us talking about it, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, if I hope that's what he was thinking. I hope he's like that smart, but we'll see.
That's good. Yeah, I think that's pretty much all I had on my topic. That shit. What do you guys want to end with? Should we get something like going at the end of this?
I don't know. Y'all watched that Warriors game last night, man? You watched that Warriors game last night, Solomon?
I did.
Wiseman did cool.
I didn't watch the
in
whole
the dunker
thing.
spot, you know? Huh?
What's up?
I said Wiseman did cool. You know, I be talking mess about Wiseman, but he did cool in the dunker spot, you know. But Oubre,
he knows what to do. He knows what to do in the specific positions, bro. He'll be able to kind of grow into that. If we make playoffs.
What was crazy is I saw something on I guess Bogut has a podcast now. And he said that somebody on the team from the old days, so it got to be Steph, Draymond, Looney, one of them, was mad because Oubre said he's not going to the bench on this team. And I guess Kerr's thing was like,
he's here from Klay Thompson.
Like he's just like, I'm not going to the bench on this team. Like if Klay Thompson was here, yeah, exactly. But like this team, hell nah. But he's like, oh, but Andre Iguodala went off the bench. I guess Kerr said that. And like the players agree with him. And then like somebody like went off on Oubre. That's what Bogut said on his podcast recently.
He's still on the team.
That's what he said on his podcast recently.
That's crazy.
That's what he said, man.
I mean, if that's the case, then I mean, I can see why Oubre feels like he needs to be in the starting role for this team. But there's times where he doesn't fit well with the lineup. He definitely doesn't fit well with the lineup in certain situations. I feel like we've had way too many blowout situations where you need players to like get over themselves immediately, to just get back down and get one stop. I don't think Kelly Oubre is built like that, to be perfectly honest, in terms of like that defensive prowess. Because we're gonna get beat up defensively. We're not the biggest team. We need him more for his defensive things than what he could do like on the offensive end.
1,000%. And I think one of the biggest things is like they're not really doing the rotations right. Like Kerr, I guess Steph, after the last game was like, had to ask Kerr to play 2 extra minutes in the fourth quarter. Like, why do you have to ask him like after the game? Like, you should just be like, no, bro, like I'm not getting out the game. You know what I'm saying? Like, or like I'm starting the fourth quarter, like I'm playing the whole fourth quarter, like it's a close game. Like a lot of like, if you watch like a lot of these games, like Kerr's sticking to these rotations, like trying to like, you know, preserve people long term, and we're blowing games because of it. And I don't know if these guys really want to do that when the games are close. You know what I'm saying? Like I wouldn't want to do that if the game's close.
I know. And I think Steph got in by the 8-minute mark this last game.
Yeah.
Was that like kind of what made the difference?
That's what made the difference, because usually he gets in like the 5-6 mark.
Yeah, exactly. And it's been tough. And it doesn't help. It doesn't help the team. It's hard to get in a groove. Like that second minute. I know Steph's the hottest shooter in the world, but you still
Steph's gravity though, like you're wide open.
Yeah, absolutely. He makes everybody else on the floor better. Well, I mean, we can only hope that Curry learns his lesson from this game. See how Steph feels, because he did feel like he still felt. It looked like he still had the effects of the tailbone injury. Like he still doesn't look 100% to me.
Weird
Um,
injury.
yeah, it's a weird injury. So maybe he's just kind of growing back into the minutes. Maybe it was just kind of a situation, but we'll see. We'll see what happens down the stretch. He might be grooming him up to the minute mark that we're looking at
Right.
for playoff time.
Right. What about you, Mike? Are you still a Clippers fan? I feel like the Clippers are going to be doing pretty well this season. I actually have the Clippers and the Sixers in the finals, personally.
This year?
This year. I have Doc and PG and Seth Curry going at it.
I mean, it would be cool to see like Doc play his own team, but you know, I still think it's going to be the Nets in the finals if the Lakers are against the Lakers if they're healthy. But we'll see.
We'll see, man. I think those are the most complete teams when it comes to a 7-game series. I think that they're really going to be able to lock in defensively and hit timely shots.
I don't know, man. Playoff P,
I don't know.
He never comes through when it's time to really come through. And like, I think
Playoff P out his mouth said, "This is Rondo's team." That's all I needed to hear. You know that, right? You know that, right? That's all I needed to hear. He said, "This is Rondo's team," and you know, I've been saying Rondo's one of the best point guards of all time. One of the best point guards of all time. Carried the Celtics. We don't even really talk about that. We won't even talk about how he carried the Celtics, but we'll talk about that another day, I guess.
Was he a 3-time NBA champion? Yeah.
Is he 3-time? No, he's 2-time, I thought.
2-time.
Yeah.
He won once with the Celtics?
Did Boston won twice?
No. Boston
won okay. Once with the Celtics. Okay, yeah.
Once with the Celtics, one with the Lakers. Then he's about to win with the Clippers.
Damn.
I'm telling you.
What a career.
Talking about Mike used to say that CP3 is better than Rondo in college. I want to tell y'all that right now.
I still think he is.
No way.
No
way. And
dude, you see what Chris Paul is still doing? Like the fucking Suns look like a.
I don't see none of this though. I don't see none of this. I see no rings. I see no rings though. I don't see no rings.
I don't think it just has to be about the rings, Brandon. I think there's other factors that can be involved in making a player what he is in terms of like his legendary status.
I never heard anybody say playoff Chris Paul. I've heard people say playoff Rondo though.
That's just a title random niggas assigned to shit. Like
all I have to say about that. That's all I have to say.
I mean,
that's all I have to say about that.
And he ain't shit.
I mean, playoff. That's pandemic P.
That was pandemic P.
That was pandemic P. That was pandemic P. That was George Paul, according to Skip Bayless. But I don't know. I think if they're saying that it's Rondo's team, I think Rondo's one of the best players, like one of the best point guards ever play. I think they got a chance. I think they got a chance.
Yeah, I actually agree. I agree with you, Brandon. In the West. I think that all they needed was a point guard to run that half court offense.
That was it. I think
PG and Kawhi aren't the best like ones to bring up the ball. Patrick Beverly is not that. And they had to trade up Lou because even though he's a fantastic sixth man, they desperately needed that type of half court point guard to like kind of run the sets, get Kawhi and PG their spots,
right,
and just let everything else flow.
Right. No, I mean they are good ones when they're hot. You know what I'm saying?
They are.
When they're hot, but when they're not hot, you need somebody who knows how to handle, running a half court set. Exactly. Lakers in trouble.
I agree with that. Lakers are in trouble.
DeMarcus, wait up. Boogie coming. Boogie, he's seen it. I'm telling y'all, Boogie coming crazy when he about to play. Like y'all thinking like Blake Griffin and LaMarcus are like having comebacks. I think Boogie's gonna have a really good season, really good playoffs.
Why the fuck is Tory Lanez trending? Oh my
no.
God!
What happened with Tory Lanez?
Look what this nigga did to his hair. What the fuck? Like, Oh, actually, that's not Tory. I think they're just saying this nigga looks like Tory Lanez. Hold on.
Somebody look like Tory Lanez acting up. All right. So with that, I'll see y'all later. This is a cool podcast. You know what I'm saying? I'm glad we got some good information about investments. Thank you for bearing with me when I went through my nerd talk, and we had some good conversation about, the NBA and, public figures, what that means to be a public figure, and how to handle that. So
Yeah.
I hope y'all enjoyed it, and we'll probably be back next week. Peace.
Yep. Peace.
See you later, guys.